Yay, hopefully that's working. Hopefully things are actually running now. Don't know what happened there. For whatever reason, YouTube decided I'm not going to do anything. I said go live and it went, no, I don't know. So, yeah, greetings. Sunday night, it's gone 8 p.m, unfortunately. But it's Doctor Who Sunday. And, oh, what a week. What a week. Literally left last week's episode robot. I was absolutely soaking. All my clothes were soaking wet. I was sweating like a gun. Sweated all night. Couldn't get warm. Went to the doctor's in the morning to get a fit note to go back to work, and he was like, "Right, okay, here's your fit note." And I was like, "By the way, did you know you're in the middle of a fever, and if you don't get your temperature down, I'm going to put you in hospital?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You got a temperature of 39.6. You need to get your temperature down." I'm like, "Jesus Christ." He's like, "Yeah, you've got flu, but the main problem here is your fever." So I've been in bed all week. So that was a fun experience. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I didn't know where I was. Thursday, I started coming out of it. The fever broke sort of Wednesday evening. I've been hugging my hot water bottle all week. Yeah, I've been wrapped up. Literally, I've been going through my clothes like water. Every time I put a new set of clothes on, I've sweated out of them and ended up. It's just been one thing after the other. Not Hong Kong. Then I was hoping to go to Hong Kong. I really was, but there's one or two other issues. I've been trying to get back to work. That's my main goal has been to get back to work, and yeah, I thought, I'm going to be doing well, and then the doctor was like, "Look at the state of you." He said, "Yeah, you're matching our wallpaper." So really haven't got the hang of this sympathy lark, mate. I don't want anybody's sympathy. It was, but it was just the fact that I was in such a state that I didn't even know I was in such a state. But anyway, this Sunday now we're doing Doctor Who, Caralingus, Castrovalva. That's the one. Yeah. It's the fifth Doctor taking over, and taking over from Tom Baker, whose legendary run of as the Doctor has come to an end. Gonna have to talk about this episode before watching the episode, though, because last week I made mention of the fact that it's not a standalone episode. If you were to just watch Castrovalva by itself, you're going to be confused about several of the story plot lines going on here. The first one is to do with the Keeper of Traken, and that is the fact that the character of Nyssa, her father, the Tremas, had his body taken over by Geoffrey Beaver's master. So Geoffrey Beavers was playing the master. He was playing Malker, this sort of like living statue type thing. Where it turns out the statue was a TARDIS, and he was inside, and he also had a second TARDIS inside the TARDIS, and basically uses Tremas's body, and steals Tremas's body, kills Tremas, takes his body, and then attempts to oh god, I forgot Adric. Oh no, yes. So then he goes to Legopolis, where he wants to learn the secret of Legopolis, and Turns out the secret of Legopolis is that basically the universe has already gone past the point of no return. That the universe has entered a state of entropy and apparently crossed the tipping point a long time ago and nobody knew. So the Master finds this out and attempts to hold the universe hostage to his demands. And basically, the Doctor stops the Master at the cost of his life. And yeah, they pick up several companions. They pick up Nyssa, who pops up because the Watcher in Legopolis brings her along. She classes him as a friend of the Doctor's. Tegan gets abducted by accident after a car breaks down. And then you've got Adric, who was part of the TARDIS crew, who was really the only legitimate part of the TARDIS crew. And then you get the whole end there, whereby he falls from the radio telescope and ends up crashing into the ground. And then you get the weirdest Doctor Who regeneration of all time. Like totally weird. Never happened before. Never happened since. Never been explained. It's just the weirdest Doctor Who regeneration ever. So we say goodbye to number 4. We say hello to number 5, and as we go into Castrovalva, I think it's worth remembering 2 things. One, the golden period of what they class as Doctor Who's golden period had already passed. This was them trying to keep things together, trying to. They were still getting great ratings. Doctor Who was still getting fantastic numbers. Castrovalva, I think, had ratings of about 10.9 million. So it was still pulling down good figures, but it wasn't getting the same sort of figures that in the middle of Tom Baker's heyday was getting, like the 14, 15 million views. I mean, it's a little bit different to look back at it now and say, oh, well, it was pulling down 10.9 million views. You got to remember back then, there were only 4 channels back then as well. So is 10.9 a great figure? I suppose it's good, but you've got to remember that there was limited competition as well. And of course, later on, where I mean, you got to remember, like the 2nd season, I think, Sylvester McCoy season, maybe the 3rd, where the ratings dropped to 3.1 million. It's like, oof. And people come and complain about today's movie figures. Jesus. But yeah, so Castrovalva, Peter Davison takes over. This is not his first story, which is worth remembering. Castrovalva was actually the 4th episode that he recorded, and it was almost a year after. It was 10 months after Legopolis did this air. So yeah, because this went out on the 4th of January 1982. And Legopolis took place in the March of 81. And the reason why they left it so late was that they did record it as the 4th episode. So they had 3 other episodes in the bag. This was his 4th. And the reason why they did that was they wanted Peter Davison to be comfortable with the part for his first outing, so that he could he knew what he was doing with the part for his first outing. So I think that's pretty much all the bases covered. I don't think there's much left to say other than the fact that about to start watching Castrovalva. 4-part story. This is the first story to have a pre-title tease. Worth remembering. So, let's kick things off with episode 1, Castrovalva. Let's go. And there's the reminder, there's Tom Baker laying there on the fake grass. It's interesting. Why would Tegan still be wearing a hat?
Doctor.
I don't get that. She's such a consummate professional stewardess that she's still wearing her hat. Like, maybe she likes wearing hats. I don't. Nissan had a good costume. Not so much Adric. Adric looked. I don't know what to make of Adric's outfit. He looks like something out of a cheaply made Robin Hood performance. Best Doctor Who theme ever. Best theme ever. Peter Howell theme just kicks ass. Absolutely love it. The effects by Sid Sutton, of course. Oh yes, Howell Rock. Oh yes, he does. He very much does. This, of course, as well, is another story where Michael Sheard appears in Doctor Who. Michael Sheard continually appearing in Doctor Who throughout. Late great Michael Sheard. Most people would remember him as Mr. Bronson from Grange Hill. I'll never forget when Goshen Hollow stole Mr. Bronson's wig when he went to him. He's a stern-looking guy, isn't he? Proper guy for working security. Like, yeah, what is wrong with Adric's? There's nothing nice about that. But this is how interesting the guy is. They gave him a beige outfit. We're gonna make it beige and drab.
They're perfectly harmless, unfortunately.
Favourite companion, Tegan. Favourite. What I love with Tegan is that she just doesn't want to be there. It's what I liked with Donna Noble, was the fact that she was, when they done Runaway Bride, she was just pulled into it, and it was like, just take me home. I don't want to be here.
We're what you've been looking for. Alien intelligence. See, that might come from somewhere up there. That is the way to space.
Yeah, well, you're about to be somewhere down there. And spread over a wide area. Yeah, go on. Put a few kicks in as well while you're there. It seems like a good start to the show, but this is as action-packed as the show is going to get until at least episode 3. They decided to make Castrovalva and go, do you know what would be a really interesting Doctor Who story? Is if the Doctor went to bed for 3 episodes. Like, did you have to? I mean, like when David Tennant regenerated, it was like for most of the episode, but at least they made up for it with having the excited scene and the sword fights and. I'm gonna be honest, before we get into really starting to get through these episodes, I think Castrovalva, because it relies on Keeper of Traken and Legopolis to know what the hell is going on. I've got to put it as the worst regeneration episode. Just purely because of the reliance of the other two episodes. Other 8 episodes, but you know what I mean. The other 2 stories.
I suppose we better take off or something.
No, it is explained in one of the episodes of it is Legopolis actually. I think it's episode 1 of Legopolis, that the exterior of the TARDIS is a plasmatic shell consisting of block transfer computations. So, and you can't actually program block transfer computations into anything that doesn't have a mind, because it would physically distort a computer to do it. So, great if you've been following for years, however. Yeah, but it's as a regeneration episode whereby it's like, right, we're going to get people to jump on board. Yeah, it's not a good... You've got to remember, like, they were saying goodbye to Tom Baker. This was getting in the biggest audience that it was going to have. Like I don't think Peter Davison's Doctor had a bigger audience than Castrovalva. And people that had tuned into Castrovalva hadn't seen Keeper of Traken, which didn't make sense for Anthony Ainley's character mainly more than anything else.
Path tracker. And this panel must be a referential difference.
I know the task is huge, but it can't have taken them this long, surely. It's a 0 room anyway. The doctor said something about null interfaces.
I suppose it's some sort of neutral environment, an isolated space cut off from the rest of the universe.
You should have told me that.
So it's good that, like, Sarah Sutton, as Nissa there, explaining these sort of principles of the 0 room. It's good that she was there. She was probably one of the best companions for the 5th Doctor. And again, when they talk about TARDIS crowding, I just don't see it. I just don't get it, because I don't think anybody ever went, the Enterprise D was overcrowded. There were too many crew members on board the Enterprise D. It never happened. You've got to know how to write these characters. If you know who these characters are and have a clear definition of who these characters are, then it's not going to feel crowded.
Tend to make one a bit giddy.
I mean, it all comes down to the writing. It really does.
I can feel it isn't going to be as smooth as
Here we got Peter Davison now, and he's going to go through some sort of past regression. He's going to weigh heavy now on William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton in upcoming scenes.
These mechanisms are too complex. We just can't find the TARDIS without the Doctor's help.
We don't get it.
He did request to watch tapes of William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, so he could
Crash.
get these scenes correct.
Inevitable. The star densities in this galaxy vary inversely with the
Rabbits.
Tegan, I don't know what's happening to the Doctor. None of us understands it, but I do know that panicking is no use.
Right. Well, if only we had a manual.
There's nothing we can do here. I'm going to try and...
I never really fancied that console, It was never...
I got lost in them when I first came to
That console just didn't look very good to me.
Stay here.
I'll come with you. Wait a minute. TARDIS information system. Ready for entry. Data bank.
Ah, yes, disposing of his clothes.
I left the waistcoat like that on. those areas. I was born there, Doctor. Really? It's a small universe, isn't it? I wonder, boy.
There we go.
What would you do if you were me? Or perhaps I should ask, what would I do if I were me?
Laying on the Hartnell.
Will it tell us how to fly the TARDIS?
I'm sure that's it.
Yeah, I never liked that console.
How we fly
Never
the
liked it.
Of course, if we had an index file, we could look it up in the index file under index file. I say, we're talking nonsense.
Recursion isn't nonsense, right? That's an example of recursion, when procedures fall back on themselves. If you had an index file, you could look it up in the index file.
If. My dad used to say that if was the most powerful word in the English language.
Yeah, but he's talking bollocks. Most powerful word in the English language begins with F.
IF stands for index file.
That's well enough, Brigadier. If you actually don't get that first.
I like how they changed the setup inside the TARDIS for all the background rooms. That they, because I mean this was inside. I got a feeling the TARDIS set was TC5. So
When I say run. Regeneration is.
so yeah, I got a feeling that the whole of the TARDIS set was inside TC5. I know this was recorded across 2 studios, TC5 and TC6.
Destination system.
But I think TC6 was all the Castrovalva sets.
You know, once you get into it, this whole funny system on the TARDIS does start to make a sort of weird sense.
But it doesn't get bigger than this now. I think in later episodes now, they start shrinking down the size of the TARDIS on the inside. You don't ever see big open spaces like this.
Hagrid, not that way.
Even the console room gets smaller. You know, it's
Seems the old dock is coming unraveled in more ways than one. Look, you'd better go back to the console room.
We're on a programmed flight, we won't crash. At least I don't think so.
Hagrid!
I think I wish he had tried on a few more clothes. I think before he had gotten to
That's the trouble with regeneration.
like it's okay. It's a nice suggestion that the jacket and hat are there, but it's a bit immediate that's where you sort of arrive. Like there's no other clothes on the hanger.
Needs a drop of linseed oil there.
Where the cricket bat. He has an entire cricket room.
No, that looks like the end of the trail.
Now, this is what was one thing that confuses me about Castrovalva. Adric is there running around the TARDIS,
This part of the TARDIS can't be
but as far as I can tell,
go on and on.
he's not actually there. That he's actually on board the Master's TARDIS right now, and that's not actually Adric.
No. You can't escape your mind, Adric. Mine! Until we have completed our final task.
So that's some sort of Adric avatar. Fairly believable, lol. It is a bit weird. This was Jonathan Turner sort of deciding, because I remember Tom Baker talking about the fact that all of a sudden he ended up with a costume with like question marks on his collars.
That's it.
And then, then he decided that Peter Davison needed a costume.
Doctor, thank heaven.
The zero room door, I heard it slam.
Doctor, you all right?
It has a fiddle, Mickey. But something very peculiar is going on in the TARDIS. The zero room. Have you seen it anywhere?
I think the noise came from this direction.
Good. I'll follow you.
Must be around here somewhere. Doctor?
Hello? Carmine Seepage.
Actually, Doctor, it's me. My lipstick. We passed this way before.
Oh, that's a relief. I thought the TARDIS's auto systems were playing up again. Dreadful. Always going wrong. It's time we went to the doctors to get it all sorted out once and for all.
We've been already, Doctor. Doctor,
Yes.
what does the zero room look like?
Zero room? Oh, it's very big.
Pink.
Empty. Sort of grey. Pinkish grey.
Come on, Doctor. Through this way.
This is episode 1, whereby you're getting into finding out that this doctor, who this doctor is, and taking over
You must
from the 4th.
works even better.
And he's interacting with the crew. He's having these little breakdown moments whereby he's reverting to previous regenerations.
Peaceful, isn't it?
And now he's gonna go, do you know what I need to do? I need to sleep for the next few episodes. It's not a good way to start.
Dendrites heal. The nervous system's a very delicate network of logic junctions.
The synapses, yes.
Oh, yes. I was forgetting this bioelectronics is your strong point. Yes, well, my tussle with the master came at precisely the wrong moment. When the synapses are weak, they're like radio receivers, picking up all sorts of jumbled signals.
I get it. The zero room cuts out all information.
It's a shame that they don't actually go back to ever doing the zero room. I think the zero room is a good idea for regeneration, because when they should make mention of it, like in later episodes, in not just the zero room, but on board the TARDIS. But I mean, like zero room is on Gallifrey. There should be zero rooms on Gallifrey. There should be whole lounges of zero rooms for people to regenerate.
It sort of comes to you, like sleep.
And it always bothers me that they never did it, because like if the Doctor got injured and regenerated, it would take a couple of days for the Doctor to come around and to regenerate and come out of it properly. Whereas if another Time Lord regenerated, they'd be down on the floor, back up, and then they're fine. It's like, well, why does it take the Doctor hours to regenerate, and then take that Time Lord minutes, seconds, instant? I don't get it.
We already have, Doctor.
Good.
There's lots of forgotten good ideas throughout the history of the show. There are plenty of.
Mathematical excellence. Adric is the navigator. He knows the way. He knows me. I know myself. Adric.
But it does. It always bothers me that the Doctor takes a day to regenerate, and another Time Lord will be back up on their feet after they've just been shot, which happened in the Capaldi verse.
Patrick, what are you doing up there?
It was Capaldi that shot him.
He set a trap. The master.
The master? Where?
Me. I'm the trap. I looked the coordinates. Event 1.
Patrick, hold on. I'm coming up to get you.
No, this is me. It is me. It's an illusion. Projection. Block transfer. Tegan.
Yes. Event 1. So, the hydrogen rush in Event 1. the people working on this show had a lot of good ideas about, how to sort of raise peril, I guess. It's just the execution of it.
Is that what you thought? Well, my dear, you manage your own computational powers and make the block transfer possible. Escape by that easy, Adric. We could all be free of this nasty world.
And the Andy.
There's so much yet to be done.
We can't tell him now. He's in a dangerous state.
I do like Anthony Andy as the master. The only problem I've got with Anthony Andy is that he later becomes a pantomime character compared to where he was in Keeper of Traken and Legopolis. And I don't mean in this episode, I mean like after this episode, when he later shows up in other episodes, he's pretty much a pantomime character, a pantomime villain of his former self.
Poor Adric. Only we could do something.
What's the matter?
Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you.
There seems to be something distinctly wrong. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's feeling the set there now, and everything's getting warm and getting hot. Because she's at the sort of the TARDIS has gone back in time now to the start of the universe. They kind of make a couple of mess ups with the dialogue. I mean, technically they are right that it is the start of the galaxy, but it's actually the start of everything. It's not just the galaxy, but the start of the universe. But there are small little sort of conceits in the dialogue where they kind of cock it up. It's an annoying little thing, but
Highly explosive.
they're in the right area. Mother Waterhouse was hardly Dustin Hoffman.
Has something gone wrong with the TARDIS air conditioning?
Of course, that's it. It's not the TARDIS.
Well, what else could it be?
Interesting effect that they've got on the screen there, which is just this overlaid steam effect. They've got live action steam going on in the studio, but they've also got this overlay that there's just a swirl of smoke that is just composited over the top.
And we're traveling backwards in time. Back to the first event.
The creation of the galaxy out of a huge inrush of hydrogen.
No, the creation of the universe.
Explosion in history.
Looks like me having a vape on set. It's a good steam room. It's the end of episode 1. I guess, Anthony Ailey's master was the one that sort of relished in his accomplishments. But he's, I wish he had, because when he done Keeper of Traken, it was the episode where he won, sort of. The Doctor and I got away, but he still managed to claim his victims and still managed to, steal another person's body. Because that's how Keeper of Traken ended. That was the after the Doctor leaves, the Master sees Tremas and has his way. I love the polarizing star effect. Doom. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. The best middle age. It is brilliant stuff. the Peter Howell theme is that's why I can't figure out why they've got it wrong with the later ones, because I really did like the Matt Smith one with the fanfare at the start as well. But then after that, when it got to the Capaldi era, and after that with Whittaker stuff, it's not good. It's not exciting.
Hydrogen, abundant element, highly explosive in the presence of oxygen, believed to be the basic constituent out of which the galaxy was first formed.
Oh, this heat. Has something gone wrong with the TARDIS air conditioning?
Of course, that's it. It's not the TARDIS.
Well, what else could it be?
Outside.
The version on the Five Doctors where it goes from the original tune to a full surround sound Howell is amazing.
Vent 1.
Do you mean on like the Five Doctor Special Edition DVD?
And we're travelling backwards in time. Back to the first event.
The creation of the galaxy out of a huge inrush.
No, there's if you want a banging version of the Howell theme, there's a guy called Hardwire on YouTube, and he's done something called the Hardwire remix of the Howell theme, and it is absolutely slamming. It's well worth listening to.
Farewell, my friend. Farewell forever.
Face, I hate it.
We must do something.
There's no one-
She's actually looking at Adric.
And,
That's all.
oh, hogwash.
I'll look it up later. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. The Hardwire Peter Howell theme. I think that's what it's called.
Lunch.
Yes. Now, apparently the set that they're on there with Andy and Adric is a redress of the Zero Room set,
The solution.
and all the webbing and everything that they've got going on, where Adric is trapped, and for some reason they do this weird thing later on whereby the Master will get on this sort of lift and then lift himself up and down, and it's these weird moments of silence because the lift made too much noise. So instead of having them talk, they had them totally quiet and then only talk after the lift had got up or down.
Sir Adric, I must see
And the worst part about it is that the lift, it only goes up like 3 foot. It's really not, in fact, worth having.
Go softly on.
That's not the direction you pointed.
I don't understand the physics of the situation. We're already caught in the field of event 1. It's pulling us in faster and faster.
It's full of gravity.
The time force is many orders of magnitude greater.
But people escape the gravity.
I mean, you can see sort of at this point now whereby that console had it. That console was absolutely wrecked. The time rotor goes up and down about 3-4 inches. I mean, it is really.
The noise. Again. And you're okay, mate. The brain's working.
What's he talking about? The excitement's changing.
Things are just bust.
It's only temporary, but perhaps he can help us.
We must take him back. It's not safe.
But the doctor's our only chance unless we can find some way of getting the temperature down.
The manual override is up.
And I think they put up that console for another season.
Really carefully. My concentration may go again at any moment. Doctor. I sympathize.
It's very popular. The top of the pops that the Master's TARDIS.
For more conquest.
It always bothers me, sci-fi prisons,
This will be simpler, of
with,
course.
with things like that.
Always remembering, of course, not to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. The whole system's on manual now.
So it's like the Enterprise D, the brig with the force field. I just... Oh, they got the time road on working there, isn't that? That's actually good, that's actually going down.
You can start to reprogram the architectural configuration. I better show you.
Yeah, it always bothered me when to like the Enterprise D with the force field door. So you lose power and it's just like, well, everybody's free now.
Configuration system can do more than that. We can actually delete rooms. Delete?
Now with Adric's being trapped by what appears to be fishing wire and scaffolding.
Now follow this very carefully. Perhaps this little demonstration will give you some glimpse of my real power. How are you getting to me? For my computations.
There it is. And speak now.
As an enemy, you're useful. But how much more useful as an ally?
Like, was it really worth
Yes.
that lift?
We're converting the mass of the deleted TARDIS rooms into momentum. I still don't understand about momentum.
Mass in motion thrust, if you like, up, isn't it?
Doesn't mean burning up part of the TARDIS?
Yes, well, don't worry, it works. We had to do that once with Adric to get away from him. By the way, where is Adric?
Adric, he's...
Well, where? We need him.
It's cooler already, that's something.
Well,
Wasn't much of a rise. No, it's not. But they can't talk because it's on like a cherry picker. When it goes up and down, the hydraulic noise that it makes is incredibly loud. So to prevent having to do ADR, they just stop talking in between the part where it goes up and the part where it goes down, and it just looks weird.
17,000 tons of thrust, say 25% of the architecture.
Whole quarter of the TARDIS.
Which 25%?
Doesn't matter, same thrust.
No, it isn't. We don't want to jettison the console room.
That's a thought.
Ah, yes.
Doctor,
Jettisoning rooms, concept that later makes his reprise in the Doctor's wife, Matt Smith.
That's the trouble with manual override.
What's the problem?
Get K9 to explain it to you. Good luck.
thanks, Doc. I think we might need it.
Well, Adric, this is my proposition. Life will immediately become more comfortable for you with the joint forces. Or do you prefer to remain in the web throughout eternity? Mere utility. You may speak. What do you want me to do?
It's a problem for this episode that most of the concepts go unexplained. So it doesn't explain what Adric's imprisonment is. It doesn't explain how. It doesn't really explain what he's being used for. It doesn't really explain what the Master's actual plan is. When we get to Castrovalva, Castrovalva itself isn't really fully explained.
Into a fact. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, this petty feud with the Doctor is over. Adric, you were wise to join. You've got to keep your side of the bargain.
Back up we go. Wait, and speak now.
Set a barrier behind your eyes, keeping something from.
How could I?
The universe is purged of the Doctor and his impossible dreams of goodness. You and I belong to the future.
Doctor will do.
It's kind of left to your own interpretation, which it really isn't best right then. Well, I mean, you get the idea from the block transfer computation from Logopolis that the Master is using Adric to create Castrovalva. But it's really, like, at the end of episode 3, I think it's the Doctor says, we're caught in a time-space trap, which isn't really one of the best cliffhangers, because a time-space trap is, well, it's a trap, isn't it? And most trap is a time-space trap. You trap something in time and space. I mean, you know, putting a shoebox over a mouse is a time-space trap, technically. It's a really sort of loose description.
Some real locations are known to have properties similar to zero environments, and in some cases are eminently more effective.
That's it. We need to take him somewhere uncomplicated, somewhere away from technology.
Classic plainness, as exemplified by regions like dwellings of simplicity.
Dwellings of simplicity. Castrovalva. Where's that?
Get closer, boy. I must see. Here. No.
I think they're relying on a lot. I think they're relying on a lot of previous Doctor companion tie-overs. I think a lot of the weight is being put onto the companions as opposed to the Doctor for this first episode. I think that's a mistake.
Are you sure?
Well, that's what she said.
When the TARDIS is on manual, you can't be certain of anything.
What do you mean?
It's harder to fly than you think. I mean, you don't just flick a switch.
Castrovalva, here we come. Please.
So, this air hostess person's flying today. Well, I wish it best of luck.
It seems you were wrong about Tegan's ability to...
As far as Ainsley goes, as much as I like him, I do expect to hear hissing and he's behind you when he's on screen. He's, honestly, it doesn't start out that way with him. It's much later on whereby he's the sort of Captain Hook character.
Soon have you safe. Here's the zero.
Like with take Logopolis, he's very deadly in Logopolis. He's not a you know, it's later. I guess after the 5 Doctors, I think is where it really sort of. I think it is during the 5 Doctors and after the 5 Doctors is where it sort of happens. Probably because I've seen them all, I suppose. Yeah, but I would say it's probably, you know, the scene in the 5 Doctors whereby he's on the he's in the death zone and you got all those lightning bolts coming down everywhere and he's dodging them. And I think it's that scene where he's got a cloak and he's got he's got the goatee beard and he's got the high collar up and he's just, and that kind of thing just sticks with him then. The whole sort of, he's a foolish character, and the Master was never a fool. And all his plans then are always, I have to dominate the universe. He reminds me of Anthony Ainley's Master. To me personally, where gets paired very, very easily with Dr. Chaotica from Voyager.
Well done, Nissa. That's the idea. We make another zero room out of what's left.
But like, you know, if you look at his master before this, before, like with Legopolis, he's killing people, he's murdering people. You know, he murders people in Keeper of Traken, he murders people in Legopolis. He's willing to go that extra mile to, like, literally throttle somebody to death. They sort of pull it back a little bit in Survival, but I mean that's at a different time period again. That's whereby they're actually treating the Doctor seriously in Survival as well. Not the greatest of stories, but I mean they still did at a point in Sylvester McCoy's run whereby they trying their best to tell really sort of serious storytelling.
Unlike the TARDIS, it is very small.
Well, it's not far to go anyway.
You've seen it?
An afternoon's walk away, more or less.
We'll be carrying the Doctor, don't forget.
Or just the Zero Cabinet.
Hey?
You won't feel my weight. I'll make it easy for you. I'll be levitating.
That's much better. There's a whole group of clothes if you want to change.
No, we should make a start. It's that way.
I still think we should get help from Castrovalva.
Why? It's no problem why he's levitating. We can roll him along the chair.
Now,
Doctor?
coming up soon, we're going to see some of the people from Castrovalva, and they are going to be wearing their traditional hunting gear. The traditional hunting gear where you can spot them like a mile away. People who work on shows should really think a lot more about, well, they should think a lot more about, you know, how things are supposed to work. I tell you something else as well. The person that worked on, I'm trying to think who it was. I haven't got my pad with me now. The list run out of power. I'm trying to think of the person who done the design work for Keeper of Traken. And the reason why I'm trying to think of that is because I wish that person worked on Castrovalva instead. Because Keeper of Traken looks amazing. The whole set for Traken is probably the best production studio set they've ever done on Doctor Who, ever, in any show. Everything, the ornamental gates, to even the doorway surrounds had these big knots of wood that would just swirl all the way around. All the detail, the fact that you had these great leaning walls that had this sort of stone motif to them, it just looked. If it was, the only thing that let it down was the studio lighting. It's the only thing that let it down. And Traken just looked absolutely amazing. And then you get to Castrovalva and everything's a little bit. It's flat lit, studio lighting. I'm still not sure whether or not she's supposed to have fallen in there. I don't actually know.
You sure I can't give you a hand?
This is going to take a bit of molecular adjustment.
Yeah, here we are. We snuck up upon. That's not even a word.
Sure, this is the right way. Is it gonna be? This thing is still getting heavier.
Yep, Sarah Sutton's the comb left in the tree there.
He's lost his concentration again. We don't find Castrovalva soon.
No, for some reason, when they do show Castrovalva, it is this really badly put together painting. Why they didn't build a model, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see Tegan in Morton Who giving some proper stroppy telling off. I'd love to have her back. I'd love to have her back because it makes total sense that she could come back. Because she's about walking about somewhere and the TARDIS lands and she gets caught up in a situation. She doesn't want to be in it either. It would just make total sense in the world to have her. She comes back in what's the one in Amsterdam? Because that's where she comes back. Castrovalva was up there with a tank from last week. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that there used to be a kids show in the 80s called Teabag. That's what it reminds me of. Where they used to have like comic book sets, which looked like they were literally just ripped out of a comic book. It's really such, and like they could have just built a model of Castrovalva, and it would have photographed better. I goddamn hate this music. I absolutely hate it. It's the same damn 7 notes recycled over and over. Like, do something exciting.
He's gone. The doctor's gone.
Yeah, the musical interlude that they have for Castrovalva is like, stop. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help. So we got films on McAllister, John Baker. It is bad. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. And the thing is, it really doesn't get better because when number 6 comes around, and I don't know if you remember, but during the whole trial of a Time Lord, they totally changed the music again. And the music is I don't know what they do, but they decided, I don't know, they're going to experiment with electronic flute or something like that. Just like, this isn't good. We're going to make it the music more mysterious. Why? Why would you do that? You've got this really exciting theme, let's make it more understated. I don't think it ever recovers really from that. Because I think by the time you get into Sylvester McCoy, where they decide to redo the theme again, it just, everything's so synthed. No, they're in Tunbridge Wells, Beer. I think it's called Harrison Rocks. So they've got a great location, and then they got people dressed up like, I don't know, pop art Ewoks.
Castrovalva's harder to get into than the doctor's cabinet.
Well, perhaps we should get back there.
Amsterdam Ark of Infinity, it was, yes. That's right. That's where Omega makes his second appearance.
Does seem the only way.
Yeah, that's the story where Tegan sort of has a bit of a comeback, where she actually calls in the doctor, kind of thing. The power of Google.
Doctor?
No, she sticks her fingers in it and says, "Oh look, it's blood." She don't know. She literally has no idea. Just because it's red.
The doctor's gone.
Cabinet was secure.
Don't stick your fingers in stuff.
It must have worked. The zero effect. He was feeling better.
Whatever happened. Gotta find him.
More blood here.
Castrovalva.
Cardboard Valva. Oh look, they were all hidden. Nobody could see them. And they bright purple, bright pink, bright red outfits. They're supposed to go hunting like that. Sneaking up on their prey.
Until he's properly regenerated, he's terribly vulnerable.
I don't know if they actually do. Oh yeah. They do actually later on. You do realise where that blood comes from. So and it's from a pig, but it's not clearly made out until
He's found a way in.
later on. Space pig, apparently. Bothers me. The things like that bother me. I can't help it. Why would there be a pig on Castrovalva? Like,
Doctor. Everyone's looking for him.
look at that. They hid in the forest. Come on, man. Love it. I don't know even what they were even thinking. What made them decide to go that way? I'm guessing it was what was happening in pop culture. This is the only thing I've got.
It's another stranger. Who are you, stranger? It's the strangest thing of all. I'm not entirely sure.
It all looks ceremonial. It looks top of the pops. It looks punk. It looks like somebody thought, I'll try to design something, and then somebody went, well, you know what, we'll work bright colours.
I will give orders for the fire to be lit. We will wait for Shadavan.
I do kind of like the masks, the fact that the masks are really wide.
Today has been a good adventure in the wild.
But they kind of remind me of what's the name of that character? Cartoon character. Was it Doug or something like that?
We should feast indeed. I trust, Bergrave, you brought us something more edible than this lifeless unfortunate.
Goes without a trace. We had a flea maker on a green wedge, though.
Well, we haven't.
I said if. Talking about it, remember?
It's not that simple.
Really?
It's what we can do.
Nissa didn't know the word if existed before Keegan came along. Space Pig! They could have done a little bit better on the set for Castrovalva. I don't mean to keep ripping into it, but it's a 2-story set that's actually only 1.5 stories tall. They've got like the square, the catwalk, the space under it, and that's pretty much it. And later on, you're going to see them walk around the set. And they literally, instead of just crossing the set, they actually walk around the set to walk back to where they came from. And because of the way they film it, you can see that's exactly what they do. Is they walk up the set, across the set, and down. Is it like, why wouldn't you just walk straight across? There he is, Michael Sheard. If there was a sci-fi Hall of Fame, that man should be in it. Without any doubt. But no, not even. I wouldn't even blink. Michael Sheard should be in a sci-fi Hall of Fame somewhere. He did 17 episodes of Doctor Who, Space 1999, Blake 7, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. That man should be in there.
Murgrave has devised a new religion he calls exercise.
In pursuit of which belief, he drives us to hunt animals in the wilds beyond the walls.
The hunt. Yes, it's all coming back to me.
The guy in the orange hat was surely a British pilot in a lower. I have no idea. Probably. He does seem like a British airman.
Longer in the body than the available abilities could match.
The garments with which we stir our colours to the hunt are relics of our ancestors, smaller breed of men, whose I believe wore down their stature with too much hunting. You will notice I am tall.
I suppose that's why they made you librarian. Reaching down the books from the top shelf.
The stranger is recovering his wits. A mild medicament, distilled from herbs.
You're a doctor.
A master of physic, yes.
Not the doctor, I suppose. I came here to find him, I think.
Must be the portrait the stranger is in search of.
The portrait, certainly. No one of ourselves is of the least importance.
The portrait, sort of magistrate.
A man of great wisdom, sir.
So yeah, she's the head up. He's they're working with Peter Davison.
I'm sorry you will not dine.
Then John Pertwee, Tom Baker, 2 stories I think. Peter Davison, and of course Sylvester McCoy, where he has his final demise in Doctor Who in Remembrance of the Daleks. I think this is probably the only one he doesn't actually die in.
You're the portrait. Shh, past my bedtime. If they knew I was abroad, they'd press me to this feast. For me, as for yourself, sleep is sometimes better nourishment and good way. Please drink.
Yes, that is good.
Excellent. You'll very soon find the doctor. You ever heard? I know these things. Oh? They're the simplest of me.
And an alien hat, because it's got 2 rims on it.
You shall see the source.
It's a hat on top of a hat.
My great wisdom. Now, sir, sleep.
Yes.
It has been a long journey. Tell me, Portrait,
off the record. Well, if
I mean, like you look at the set that they're working on there, and the paint detail that they went into to decorate these sets. They put in a lot of work to the set decorators and set builders did put in a lot of work. It's just the overall production design. I mean, they've got us. I've got a feeling Castrovalva was in TC6, so it is a limited size studio. Looking at it, it was built bottom corner. I don't know for sure though. I got a feeling it was because we see it from two sides. I got a feeling that it was built into the corner of the studio.
more strangers have arrived. They scale the walls.
A new sport to replace hunting. Where are these supermen? They're coming.
I must tell the portrait away.
It does annoy me slightly that they would build a set like this inside TC6 and not the BBC wouldn't sort of spring to have a set like that built outside on a lot,
Very well. Then show them to them.
because it would look so much better.
Disturb the portrait with this new.
Why you build something inside a studio instead of outside, I don't know. It bothers me. Like, yeah, there were the constraints. I get that, but if you can afford to build that inside a studio, you can afford to build that outside on location. And if you need to, you can set up like gazebos over the top of it.
Are you sure? It's still not very strong. Must we have to think electric too? I know so little about telebiogenesis. If only there were some books here.
Come on.
And again, the benefits of filming it outside would just be so much better. You could leave all the internal sets like this, inside. And again, we had kept here, whereby they've kept to the morning now, and it's never fully explained. It's like everybody put their head down, and now it's morning. It's like, they should have done a slower transitional fade for there between the two, or at least done a light DQ. They should have done a light DQ because you should have had more orangey light in for the Doctor, then got a more blue light in. Right, well that's him. Damn 7 notes.
Wait! That belongs to the Doctor!
The zero cabinet. Zero space inside.
No, don't turn around. Just listen and listen quickly.
Don't turn around.
He's in Castrovalva.
You can find him anywhere.
So that's who the devil is on the impossible planet. It's Adric.
Tell them.
No, rest with me can wait. Just listen. The Doctor must remain in Castrovalva until his regeneration is complete.
Wait, I must get Tegan.
No, you mustn't tell anybody you saw me. Nobody will understand.
Horrified thought.
Yes, sir. Lovely morning. I'm beginning to feel quite my old self. Or rather, my new self.
Yeah, one of the worst things about this episode, honestly, right, this is
Impersonation of yourself. Now,
if you look at the end of Legopolis,
what about that?
if you look at the last two, say the last episode of Legopolis, they actually play the musical score in that is pretty much Starsky and Hutch. You know, there's this real sort of high tension, high paced music. This real sort of gusto. Let's go get 'em. This real sort of high octane fueled race against time to prevent the collapse of the cosmos. And then you get to this one whereby you got the damn flute tootling away, and the Doctor's nice and rested and relaxed because that's what he needed. Was a good kip. I mean, I understand it from a storytelling standpoint, whereby you have to show this thing regenerated, but so far he's done nothing.
Whoever did this certainly has a way with needle and thread.
Remarkable, isn't it?
This device you mentioned.
It stands before you, Doctor. I've returned it to its state of yesterday, by way of demonstration.
Do you have any books on telebiogenesis?
The technical section is not large.
Well, similar vibe to TNG, Best of Both Worlds and Family. What in terms of the come down? You mean from coming down from like Legopolis to this? No, I know because I think there's exciting scenes in Family where Picard and Robert sort of come to a head. The dialogue is about in Family is about Jean-Luc trying to deal with the entire scenario and trying to deal with the entire situation, and he's refusing to talk to him. And Robert keeps poking him all the time and keeps keeps at him until eventually he explodes in that mud fight. Whereas the come down from Legopolis here is, well, he's going to bed.
Nissa, Tegan.
He's going to bed and getting comfortably rested.
You know, I'm sure there's someone missing.
These aren't going to help us much with Adric. Small technical section. There weren't any technical books at all. Now let's read the history of Castrovalva. Might tell us why.
Let's take them back to the doctor's room.
I mean, you've got to look that the dialogue lacks a little bit of punch to this episode, and what they're doing. I mean, I think you could arguably remove episode 2 of Castrovalva and actually do something better.
What?
3 says what comes after 2.
Do you know, that's exactly what I thought.
And then 4, then 5, then 6.
It's just not very punchy at all.
You're making me dizzy. We'll have to give you a badge for mathematical excellence. Adric.
See, no, Adric, what? He was abducted episode 1. It's episode 3 now, and he's only now working it out.
Where is he?
Sorry?
Adric.
You told him.
No, Patrick told me not to.
Adric told you?
I'm so sorry, Doctor.
Please, never mind about the apologies. I think it's time I heard
Oh, that bloke in the white has a familiarity to it.
Going so soon.
whether the sudden offence we've given you just a sudden fancy, I cannot say.
He cannot leave. He must not.
He seems firm in his intent, and we must intervene. Plus, we can't get through that yet.
We want to get a fun.
Well, we'll just have to hope, won't we?
See, look at that, how open that set is for there now. And you can see the back wall, you can see the back curtain, you can see the wires. Had they built this outside, it would be so much better. And they'd have had more space to be able to sort of push the set out a little bit further. Cameras would be able to get back further.
It's impossible.
So you'd be able to actually look into the set more.
Reconsider this hasty departure for reasons of health, if not of courtesy. Sorry, no time. Mustache, come back later.
And it would be the same size set, you know, you wouldn't have to build a bigger set. You'd just be able to frame it and shoot it bigger. Because the cameras would be able to get back, you know, 20, 30 feet further back.
That wretched square again. Doctor, what's happening?
Shush. Concentrate. This could be serious.
Does this space be folded in on itself?
Do they like it? Quick! But there's still the time to reverse the sentence.
And you wouldn't have the wrinkles in the cloth behind.
What is the occasion of this haste?
It's affecting him some very complex.
You see, this is why
Castrovalva.
the David Tennant episode works, whereas this one kind of comes flat, and that is that there is no peril. Like when David Tennant's out cold and the Christmas tree is going to kill everyone, they actually use the fact that he's asleep to its advantage.
Someone's manipulating Castrovalva. We're caught in a space-time trap.
Oh no! It's a trap. Like, that's what a space-time trap is, right? It is. I'm not making it up. I know I've said this before, but a space-time trap is literally just a trap. Like that's a space-time trap. I've trapped space and time. Yeah, Paddy Kingsland. That's the bastard who does all that damn tootling with a pipe. Poke his bloody eyes out. So with 3 episodes in, we've got to go into episode 4. What's happened so far, the story of Castrovalva so far, Adric's been kidnapped, the doctor's now feeling rested, and now he's realised that they're in a reclusion. That Castrovalva's been manipulated to trap them inside Castrovalva. This is the entire story so far. And the people inside the regression cannot see it because they're inside. They're on the inside looking out instead of the outside looking in. Again, for my money, it's the worst regeneration episode. It's got some interesting ideas.
Yes, well, that's democracy for you. Come on.
I don't remember this.
Never mind. Come on. Otherwise, you have a terrible sense of direction. Still, as long as we keep going down.
The fact that they do this whole labyrinth thing where they keep running around and keep winding up in the same place.
Consider this hasty departure for reasons of health, if not of courtesy. Sorry, no time. Mustache. Come back later.
I wish it was executed a little better, but it's still a good idea. It's still a good.
Thank you.
Wretched square again. Doctor, what's happening?
Shush. Concentrate.
Like anything interesting now is going to happen in this
Does
episode.
this space be folded in on itself?
Do they like it? Quick. But there's still the time to reverse the sense.
Doctor, what is the occasion of this haste?
He's the librarian.
Some very complex spatial disturbance.
Why is he blocking the staircase?
Folding in on itself deliberately.
Come on, this way.
The doctor's room.
Oh, goodness. We must get it back in the zero cabinet immediately.
Zero cabinet. It's gone.
Recursive occlusion. Someone's manipulating Castrovalva. We're caught in a space-time trap.
Oh no!
I'm perfectly all right.
Aside from the fact that you are harming it up to the 10th degree.
Please find the zero cabinet.
Retrieve. He'll help us. Wait here, Doctor.
Be careful. If I'm right, the pollution won't be dangerous to you at this moment. Your only trouble will be finding a way. Quickly!
I thought it was a knight that says knee.
You should prepare yourselves for disappointment. It is unusual for the portrait to grant two audiences on the same day.
Just take us to him.
Must be about 500 years old. No, that's odd. That's very odd indeed.
So Peter Davison was apparently Jonathan Turner's first pick
Margaret,
for the Doctor.
just the chat.
There's
something you can do for me.
Jonathan Turner had actually just sort of, they knew, I think they knew 12 weeks before Tom Baker left that he was going to be going. And so when that happened, Jonathan Turner was just like, well, and apparently people had been sort of fed up with Tom Baker anyway. People at the BBC that were working with him in the studio. I mean, even Tom Baker himself says, he was hard to work with, particularly going off.
Look, what is it?
But yeah, apparently Jonathan Turner had settled on Peter Davison as the Doctor, and I hadn't really considered anybody else. I don't think he even auditioned him. He just took him to dinner and went, "You're the next Doctor."
I'm very fond of history, but I don't usually get much time for reading.
They actually held off. I know they did actually hold off on putting Doctor Who out because at the time Peter Davison was in another show called Sink or Swim,
Tell me, Margaret.
and they didn't want him being in two shows at the same time.
What's that?
So they actually held off on Doctor Who.
The town square.
That's why it was 10 months between Legopolis and Castrovalva.
And my own pharmacy. In fine, sir, the dwellings of Castrovalva.
And it all makes sense to you.
Strange question. Charlemagne has asked the same. Charlemagne. He too can be a little fevered in his imaginings. This will dispel your fatigue.
How do I know you're telling the truth?
Because, sir, I maintain I am. And I am a man of my word.
A perfect example of recursion, Mowbray. And recursion is exactly what we're up against. Draw me a square, large as you can.
This is a good story idea here where he gets him to draw.
Now, in the square, a rough map of Castrovalva.
You hid this deliberately.
Assuredly, ma'am. No,
When he gets him to draw them out. It's a good way to sort of explain the problems with Castrovalva, with the what's going on.
They cannot think that.
Come on, we must get this back to the doctor straight away.
Yeah, they only stole his stuff.
The library, the square, Portreeves' house. Now, where's your pharmacy?
Up here, sir. Down here. Round here. And along here also.
4 pharmacies in a small place like this.
No, sir. I have but one.
Positioned in 4 times.
It's a good little storytelling idea to
Different routes.
have that map there for him to be able to try to explain it.
Valeriana, Officinalis Antiquula Europea. And just works me.
You understand medicine, Doctor.
Oh, not as well as you.
I'm afraid one of us is still learned about geography.
Doctor?
Yes, yes.
We found it. And no thanks to these Castrovalva people. They kept leading us round and round back to the square.
Well, that's Castrovalva, not Ruth. I suppose you know the whereabouts of the Portreeves' house.
Nothing is more certain, sir.
Well put. Show us on the map.
This is the Portreeves' house. Along here, down there, round there.
The doctor has been explaining to me. I always grasp it.
There's something amiss with the map.
There is something amiss with Castrovalva, but because your perception is part of it, you cannot see it.
I am a rational man, sir. Explain this interesting idea.
I like the fact that he is trying to grasp it.
To the cabinet.
Yes, in a minute. This library of Chardonnel's rule the
And again, the interesting ideas are starting to come out now in this episode, but it's a bit late in the day.
Purport, you say?
That, sir, is our official history.
Castrovalva's first beginnings to the present day.
Yes, well, I'm no expert, but I have the strongest possible hunch that these are forgeries.
What do you say, sir?
Oh, the threads, the bindings, the paper are as near the real thing as may be, but the contents are faked.
How can you tell?
There's something we're all overlooking.
Yes, what, Doctor?
I don't know. I'm overlooking it too. But I'm certain.
Peter Davison's working hard to make this thing work. He is really,
Something about the real history.
and I mean, like, he was sort of. This was sort of my first Doctor Who, by the way. This was when I was a kid. This was sort of. I remember seeing Tom Baker regenerate into Peter Davison, and then it was Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy for me.
This is Charlemagne's hand, the librarian.
Sure. I thought as much. I must see the portrait.
I'm sure if your condition the portrait will be happy to see.
We'll carry him there.
As you wish.
Would you mind waiting outside? We'll
I've
bring
been
him out
treated
in a
like
minute.
this before. By your fault.
One little suggestion.
I wish I could be of more help.
That's a complicated thing, this recursion business.
Please, let us have quiet here.
And again, the problem with this story now is that it's still working off the back of other stories.
To carry him to the portrait, we must all help.
Very well.
Like, you had the problem with the recursion in Legopolis, where you had a TARDIS landing within the TARDIS within the TARDIS.
No. Move away.
You've got the block transfer computation, which is still a carryover from Legopolis. But all the themes that were explained in previous episodes. And here we go, walking around the set. Again, the problem with doing it on a crane cam like this is the fact that you can see where they walk in from. Should never have filmed it that way.
This way.
We got taking a left, so now they've just done a whole U-turn.
Doctor can't be levitating, it's so heavy. Then, the history of Castrovalva. The whole 30 volumes.
Or are they trying to highlight the small looping space? No, they just shouldn't have filmed it that way at all. Because they literally just went like that. They could have walked from there to there.
I suspected the whole tradition was invention from beginning to end. Here's the proof. Your annotations of the histories.
They literally just walked around the square.
Notes for a fiction I had a mind to write. The fiction of Castrovalva, a civilization evolving out of tribal warfare into an ideal community. It is a fiction. And the thing that confirms it, well, I know it is on the tip. It's on the tip of my mind. The books are 500 years old at least, but
The books are old.
Last time I played Devil's Advocate. Again, the ideas in Castrovalva it's a good idea to have this recursive problem whereby, but the execution of it is not done as well. Like the movie Labyrinth does it really, really well.
We have come for your
It's not my help. This is a matter.
The idea of being able to go in through one area and wind up back, and it's the whole sort of Pac-Man type of deal where you go out through one door and you come straight back in the other door, through the bottom, come down through the top.
but you do see the spatial anomaly.
My eyes know. But in my philosophy, this way, I know a back way.
So the idea is that it's just the lack of explanation.
Castrovalva, look at the article.
Retrieve. Should we not begin?
Everything's in heaven. With this tapestry and patience, there's nothing one cannot achieve. Nothing, Doctor, in this world or in any other. Tapestry has the power to move, hold in space, hold worlds, matter. But I've contented myself with one small, simple town.
The final meeting of the Doctor with his master.
Nice reveal. It is a nice reveal. I don't even mind the effect whereby it flops back and forth.
Come on, we'll have to hurry. You're a good tall chap. I waited patiently with this tram of mine. My Castrovalva.
Didn't see that coming.
But there is a real Castrovalva. It's mentioned in the TARDIS databank.
The boy Edric entered it there at my command.
Adric, where is he? What have you done with him?
The boy is nothing. I want the Doctor. One long last look before I destroy and massacre him.
And again, the reason why he wants to destroy the Doctor now. I mean, the Doctor's thwarted him a couple of times since Deadly Assassin, but you need to know
What was that?
Deadly Assassin. You need to know Keeper of Traken. You need to know Logopolis before you even get to this point.
No, Doctor.
And again, the motivations of the Master now should be, I need to get out of here to let Castrovalva collapse in on itself.
Zero structures. The internal interfaces are bonded by strong force interaction. The surfaces can only be separated from inside the cabinet.
Don't try to make a fool of me.
You see, he's not being so pantomime villain. He's being,
Doctor,
villain.
this is beyond all sense. You must come along with us. No, you must spare the Doctor.
No, Shardabun, he has betrayed the Portreeve.
My dear friends, it's we who've been betrayed.
But again, he's more
This
at this point in his regeneration cycle, I suppose. The Master is again, he's more the Master than Dr. Chaotica, which he later
You do have
Just.
doubts. We've spoken of it often.
becomes an embellishment.
Please. Yes, yes.
Oh no, he isn't.
But I will see your face one more time before I destroy you forever.
Richard Tapestry. You'll spot the Doctor any minute now.
Well, speak, I gave you tongues.
Trying his best to work that prop. Trying his absolute best.
So we've been tampering with your perception threshold.
You are not the Portreeve. I believe the visitor.
A trick! The Doctor's here! Are you sure of that, Master? Enough of your deception! Where are you?
you out wherever you are!
Tapestry, look!
Oh, yeah, yes, Adric.
Doctor, I know. Stay back.
He's safe. Thank God.
So that's how you're sustaining Castrovalva.
An adaptation of the block transfer computation. Since we last met, Adric's mathematical powers have been put to lively use. Deadly use, that too. You were wise to deter your young friends from approaching. The Hatron power lines are lethal to the touch.
All right, Master.
It's me you want.
Let the boy go.
Yes. The trap has now been sprung. We can begin to dispose of all the bait.
There was no call for that.
I populated Castrovalva. I will dispose of these creatures as I choose. Unless you let every one of them go. Now, well, Doctor?
It's still not clear. We're this late into the game and we still don't really know what the Master's actual plan is.
You made us, man. But we are free.
Yeah.
So look! Fireplace. It's his TARDIS.
You hope so, otherwise you just nick the fireplace.
The Master's escaped.
So must we. Without the rep to support it, local space will fill up into itself. Come on!
Everything's gone Pac-Man.
Where are we going?
Still makes sense to Margaret. Stay behind here.
Yeah, you 8-bit.
This way.
See, they are trying a lot to try to come up with these sort of interesting twists in space.
Take off. Space is squeezing in too fast.
We're trapped. How do we get out?
You can't collapse without causing a breach somewhere.
There's nothing but confusion in my eyes now.
I can see. Adric created it. Which way? What exactly am I looking for, Doctor? Anything you don't recognize as Castrovalva. Over there, the hillside. Hey, all right then, come on.
T-gun. I don't recognize T-gun. Quick, everybody climb inside T-gun.
This is it. Margaret.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Bring it to me, boy. I will. Ah. Doctor, quickly, we've got to leave. What closes again?
Doctor! Henry, please hurry!
I've got to leave. No.
Nah, hoisted on his own petard. I think, what was it, the Mark of the Rani, I think is probably the last time we see the Master with the TARDIS, I think. I know it's explained in World Enough in Time that the Master has a TARDIS. We don't see it. Of course, it should be called a time capsule, not a TARDIS. There is only one TARDIS.
Deep breaths.
Well done, Adric.
Oh, why couldn't we just walk?
We fit to crew the TARDIS. Trim time ship in a ship-shaped team.
Who landed this?
I did, Doctor.
You flew the TARDIS.
I followed the instructions in the computer.
There aren't any. It was a projection.
As Adric was in the zero room. So I didn't fly it.
Adric reprogrammed it. Whatever you did to the console.
So why isn't Adric explaining this?
How disappointing.
Those bloody tweeting bastards. I know, yeah. Like, why didn't Adric explain that? That he was the one who flew the TARDIS. He's right there.
Adric?
Are you sure you're up to flying the TARDIS?
Oh, isn't it? In fact, I feel quite like my own self. Well,
Yes.
whoever I feel like. It's absolutely splendid.
And that's the end of that. God. Like, it's good that the next story after it, because I think, what we got, Black Orchid is in the run 4 to Doomsday. I mean, it's just, it's lucky that they had such good ratings at the time, and that they had an interesting concept in the end, because the first 3 episodes, as you know, I don't want to say it is awful, but when you consider the fact that Troughton had Power of the Daleks, Pertwee had Spearhead from Space, Baker had Robot, and they coming down. Like, I understand that they were handing over to a new guy, so they were leaving most of the stuff onto the hands of the companions, not to get a bad vibe from this Doctor, so they kept him out of it as much as possible. But that's a mistake. If anything, the Doctor needs to be more hands-on. Yeah, it's just a lackluster story, you know. The Master kidnaps Adric to build Castrovalva, to trap the Doctor. It's a convoluted plan. He doesn't really explain why he wants to trap the Doctor, except that the Doctor has thwarted others' plans of his. It's a bit neutral. So that's pretty much Castrovalva in a nutshell. Really, is that it's not the most exciting regeneration story. So that's why when they say stuff like about Jodie Whittaker's regeneration story, I'm still not a huge Woman Who Fell to Earth fan. But if I'm comparing it to this, it's like when new Whovians talk about Doctor Who and they say, oh, it's not that good. What's your basis? What's your comparison? Because like this thing drew in nearly 11 million views, and we talking. You're talking about a story that had all the right ingredients, just in the wrong proportions, and it could have been a bit more actiony. It could have been a bit more. Had they remade Castrovalva today, I think it would have been a 2-part episode, and it would have been a lot faster paced, and the production would have been a little bit more location based as well. Like they spent a lot of time in Tunbridge Wells filming for a lot of the location stuff, but I think like these days, I think they would have shot Castrovalva itself as a location just to get a real sense of scale to the place. But I think it's kind of a bum note for the 5th Doctor to begin on. And we know where this Doctor goes. Caves of Androzani, the next season stories then with things like Visitation, Earth Shock. There's some really, really great stuff. Enlightenment. Oh my God, do I love Enlightenment. Where you've got like the light and dark Black Guardians in a power contest. So as a starting adventure. Like even 6, we got the next one. So again, looking forward to the next regen scene. Hubba hubba nudge nudge wink wink with the 6th Doctor and Perry. Yes. Oh dear. And the Twin Dilemma. The Twin Dilemma is actually a better story. But I know it's classed as one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who. But I think the Twin Dilemma is a better story than Castrovalva. And then after that, then you got Time and the Rani. Which, what do you say about that? Don't forget Chameleon. Well, Chameleon is gone by the 6th Doctor, isn't he? I mean, like Chameleon is in this, is in the 5th Doctor run. Again, do you know? Again, I'm not opposed to them trying ideas. Chameleon was supposed to be this sort of like upscale version of K9 because they were all wanted K9 back. There was a big protest that K9 had left 2 episodes earlier, and by this time 3 episodes earlier, 3 stories earlier, with Romana. So yeah, there was. Because that was K9. Oh God, yeah, that was K9 Mark II, wasn't it? So yeah, there was a big protest about that. So they thought, I know, we'll try something new. And Jonathan Turner thought, I know, let's be clever. Let's bring in a new robot, a new android. Of course, the android didn't work; it couldn't move, and the only time it ever did do anything was when it was in the guise of somebody else. Which meant that you had to constantly have guest actors in all the time to play this damn android. So yeah, and again, we're going to say goodbye now to the 5th and into the 6th. Again, I would stick by my statement. Colin Baker, most underrated Doctor of all time, out of any one of them. Because when he takes over as the Doctor, first of all, he only takes over because Peter Davison has said, "Look, 3 years is it. That's it, my time, and I'm thankful for the part, and I'm out here." But the other thing is that he didn't really know that he was going to get the part of the Doctor. He'd already played in the 5th Doctor story. Commander Maxwell. So he didn't even think that he was going to get the 6th Doctor. He became friends with Jonathan Turner. Jonathan Turner liked what he was doing and thought, he would make a good Doctor. Of course, he didn't like the outfit that he got lumped with, but as I've explained before, the 6th Doctor is probably the most recognisable out of all of them. And where he starts off with a character and where he ends up with a character before he regenerates is nothing alike. I mean, the whole arc that you get from the Trial of the Time Lord is the mysterious planet. What were we looking at? Mysterious planet, Terror of the Vervoids. And you get Ultimate Foe in there. Ultimate Foe raises a great character, like the Valiant. Everybody wants that bastard to come back. I agree, mate. And jokes aside, it's a fantastic regeneration scene. I mean, Caves of Androzani, 5 into 6. Caves of Androzani is a fan-bloody-tastic Doctor Who story, regardless. And it's a great way for the 5th to say goodbye. I wish he had had a couple more years as the Doctor before going into the 6th, but that's mainly due to the fact that I would have liked other companions to have come along first. But when Six takes over, he's a very threatening character, but he's got this different sort of demeanor because of the way he's dressed. So his demeanor doesn't quite match his dress sense then. But then later on, as the show, because obviously the show is bumps into figures and viewing figures and whatnot. And of course, the BBC makes some awful decisions about when to put it on. And that leads to even worse viewing figures. Of course, they blame the show and not the time slot. When they decide, oh, you know what would be a good idea, let's put it up against Coronation Street. At some point, you're going to be shaking your head going, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, but the last going off, when you get the whole trial of the Time Lord and then Ultimate Foe with the Valiant, and it turns out the Valiant is his evil, a manifestation of his evil self, somewhere between his 12th and final regeneration, and that's the important bit. That's somewhere between the 12th and final regeneration. We have no idea where in that bracket. All we know is that there is a point between now, where Jodie Whittaker is the Doctor, and the end, whereby the Valiant could show up, could manifest, and I think a lot of people want the Valiant back, because the Valiant is the biggest enemy that the Doctor could ever possibly face. And well, that's some interesting stuff. That's for next week, which is going to be the Twin Dilemma. So, and I will be here next week for that. So yeah, next Sunday, 8 PM, Twin Dilemma. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I shall see you later, guys.